Hey there, Virgo. I'm back and here for the reading. So thanks for joining me. Let's see what's going on. Really positive reading so far. Wow. Um,
Something unexpected is moving toward you, and the way you handle it is going to determine what it becomes, not the surprise itself. Your response to it, because surprises are neutral until you assign them meaning, you're going to be caught off guard by something that doesn't fit your current narrative of how your life is supposed to unfold, something that disrupts your expectations, something that requires you to adjust quickly. Let me describe what this feels like. You may have been operating with a specific plan, a clear vision of how things are supposed to go. Step one leads to step two, leads to step three, everything mapped out, everything controlled. Some people experience this as responsible, as mature, as having your life together. They think planning prevents chaos and control prevents disappointment. It might feel safe to have everything figured out, to know what's coming, to minimize variables, to reduce uncertainty to the absolute minimum. But here's what's about to happen. Something's going to arrive that you didn't plan for, that wasn't on your radar, that comes from a direction you weren't watching. Let's pause here. This reflection invites you to consider, how do you typically respond when life doesn't follow your plan? Maybe you panic, go into control mode, try to force things back into the shape you expected, resist what is because it doesn't match what should be. You may have a pattern of treating surprises as threats, as disruptions to be managed, as problems to be solved, rather than opportunities to be explored. It's possible this surprise is going to challenge that pattern because it's not a threat, it's not a problem, it's just different than what you expected. Some people miss their biggest blessings because those blessings arrive in unexpected packaging. They're so focused on what they think they want that they reject what they actually need. You may have done this before. Dismissed opportunities because they didn't look like what you were looking for, rejected people because they didn't fit your type, turned down chances because they weren't part of your plan. But the best things in life are usually surprises. The things you didn't see coming, the things that disrupted your careful plans and created something better than what you imagined. It can feel destabilizing when control is taken from you, when life moves in directions you didn't authorize, when you're forced to adapt instead of dictate. But maybe that loss of control is exactly what you need. Maybe the surprise is life's way of showing you that your plan was too small, that you were aiming for good enough when you could have extraordinary. This reflection invites you to consider, what if the surprise is better than what you planned? There's something specific about why you shouldn't freak out. It's possible your first instinct when this surprise arrives will be panic. Your nervous system will register change as danger. Your mind will start catastrophizing. Your body will go into fight or flight. That's normal. That's how humans are wired. We evolved to treat the unexpected as threat because unexpected things used to be tigers, not opportunities. But you're not being chased by a tiger. You're being presented with something your current framework doesn't know how to process yet. Some people freak out immediately and make decisions from panic that they regret later. They reject, they run. They say no to things they should say yes to because fear is driving instead of discernment. You may have done this before. Freaked out when something unexpected happened and made it worse by reacting instead of responding, by letting fear choose instead of wisdom. What you need to do instead is pause, breathe, give yourself time to process before you react. Let the initial shock pass before you make any decisions about what this means or what you should do. Because your first reaction is rarely your wisest reaction. Your first reaction is usually just your nervous system trying to return you to familiar territory. And familiar isn't always better. Sometimes it's just comfortable. It can feel urgent to respond immediately. Like you need to have an answer right now. Like not knowing what to do means you're failing at adulting. But you don't need immediate answers. You need space to let the surprise settle, to see what it actually is instead of what your fear is telling you it is. This reflection invites you to consider, can you sit with the unknown without immediately needing to control it? Let me talk about what this surprise might actually be. It's possible it's relational, someone showing up you didn't expect, someone expressing interest you didn't see coming, a connection forming in an unlikely place with an unlikely person, or it's professional, an offer from an unexpected source, an opportunity you didn't apply for, a door opening you didn't even know existed. Maybe it's personal, a realization that changes how you see yourself, an insight that shifts your entire perspective, a truth you weren't looking for but needed to find. Some people experience surprises in multiple areas at once. Like life is reorganizing itself and they're just along for the ride trying to keep up. You may be entering one of those periods where everything feels in flux, where you can't get your bearings because the ground keeps shifting, where stability feels impossible because change is constant. And that can feel overwhelming, like you're losing control of your own life, like you're being swept along by forces you can't manage. But what if you're not losing control? What if you're being liberated from the illusion that you ever had it? What if the surprise is teaching you that you can handle uncertainty better than you thought? It can feel scary to realize that control was always an illusion, that you've been white knuckling your way through life trying to manage things that were never yours to manage. But it's also freeing, because if control is an illusion, then you can stop exhausting yourself trying to maintain it. You can relax into the flow instead of fighting the current. This reflection invites you to consider, what would change if you stopped trying to control everything? There's something about trust that's essential here. It's possible the surprise is testing your ability to trust yourself, to trust that you can handle things you didn't plan for, to trust that you're adaptable enough, resilient enough, capable enough to navigate the unexpected. You may have been underestimating yourself, operating as if you're fragile, as if you need everything to go according to plan or you'll fall apart. But you're stronger than that. You've handled surprises before. You've navigated uncertainty. You've adapted to changes you didn't choose. Some people forget their own resilience. They focus on the one time they didn't handle something well and convince themselves they're incapable of handling anything difficult. You may have been doing that. Defining yourself by your worst moments instead of your strongest, forgetting that you've survived everything that's tried to break you so far. The surprise is going to remind you of your own capacity. It's going to show you that you're more flexible than you think, more capable than you believe, more resilient than you give yourself credit for. It can feel vulnerable to trust yourself, like you're setting yourself up for failure. Like acknowledging your strength means you can't ask for help when you need it. But trust isn't about never needing support. It's about knowing that even when things don't go as planned, you'll figure it out. You always do. Let me talk about what you might need to release. It's possible you need to release your attachment to how things are supposed to be, to the timeline you created, to the specific form you decided success should take. You may have been holding your plans so tightly that there's no room for anything better to arrive. So focused on your version that you can't see life's version might be superior. Some people would rather have control than happiness, rather have certainty than opportunity, rather stick to a mediocre plan than embrace an excellent surprise. You may need to examine whether you're one of those people, whether your need for control is protecting you or limiting you, whether your plans are serving you or imprisoning you. Because plans are useful, they give direction, but they should be held loosely enough that when something better shows up, you can adjust. It can feel like betraying yourself to abandon your plan, like you're being flaky or uncommitted, like changing direction means you were wrong before. But adapting isn't failure, it's wisdom. It's recognizing that new information requires new decisions, that what made sense yesterday might not make sense today, that growth means evolving, not staying rigid. What you might need to embrace is flexibility, the ability to pivot, to adjust, to say, this wasn't what I expected, but let's see where it goes, instead of this wasn't what I expected, so it must be wrong. Some people treat any deviation from plan as disaster. They can't tolerate surprises because surprises mean they weren't in control, and not being in control feels like failure. You may need to reframe that, to see surprises as invitations instead of interruptions, as possibilities instead of problems, as life showing you options you couldn't have imagined from where you were standing. It can feel risky to stay open to the unexpected, like you're being passive. Like real adults have plans and stick to them no matter what. But the most successful people aren't the ones who stick rigidly to plans. They're the ones who can recognize when a better path appears and have the courage to take it. You remain in complete control of how you respond to surprises. You can freak out or stay calm, resist or explore, reject or receive. The power is yours. It always has been. You may notice reading this has brought up anxiety about what the surprise might be. Maybe fear that it's something you can't handle. Maybe hope that it's something good. Whatever it is, honor it. Take what resonates. Softly release the rest. Trust yourself. Before we close, I want to ask you something. When unexpected things happen, do you typically see them as threats or opportunities? Drop it in the comments. And this, what surprise would you most want to receive right now? There's a surprise ahead any day now, and whatever you do, don't freak out. Because freaking out closes doors. Freaking out makes you react instead of respond. Freaking out turns blessings into burdens because you're too panicked to see them clearly. The surprise might be exactly what you've been waiting for, just not in the form you expected, just not on the timeline you planned. Not eventually, soon. Trust yourself with this. Trust that you can handle surprises. Trust that you're adaptable enough to navigate the unexpected. Trust that some of life's best gifts come wrapped in packaging you didn't anticipate. I'll see you in the next one. And listen, surprises aren't punishments. They're just life being more creative than your plan. Stay open, stay flexible, don't freak out. What's coming is for you. Even if it doesn't look like what you ordered,